a future for all, inclusive innovation, where everybody wins, right? So this is what Huma Hamid, our next keynote, is going to talk about. She has 16 plus years of experience working in multiple global tech companies, and she's currently following her passion in ed tech and digital learning, focusing on customer experience. She's a product manager at Cisco, and she's also the co-founder of PWiC. So, Huma, I welcome you.
Thank you so much for the really amazing introduction. And the first thing I really wanted to say, representation matters. I'm really, really honored to be here representing the underrepresented Pakistani women in computing. We are part of building this future. We are joining from the get-go. And I'm really proud of the team that is here today. And we are co-hosting this event side by side with Ejad Labs, and I think that's a remarkable day for PWiC. Communities are more important than ever, and I have learned that when I was moved from having a really fulfilling, busy life working in tech, and I moved to Eastern Washington, right next to a small university town called Pullman. Many of you may not even have heard about that. And Eastern Washington and Idaho are not the places where you'll find many brown people. So I was working in tech, but I was living a pretty isolated life there. So that's when I really started to look around and found myself, looking for that belonging, looking for that connection, looking for that growth and learning. And that's how, my own journey, my personal pain, my isolation all led to what PWiC is today. From the get-go, from the beginning of this community, we have always not only focused on building the community, bringing people together, but also, since we all come from tech, we made sure that our passion for technology and how technology can connect people. We have been virtual, and all of events and everything that we do has always been digital. So when COVID happened, I think PWiC is one of those communities who not only led the way, but we also created impact. We went beyond doing events on Zoom, and I'll talk about that more in detail. So my exposure, when I was, building PWiC, or when this whole thing started and met Farah and rest of the, amazing speakers and participants here, I wasn't thinking about creating a global community that will, one day become important. And we have always been, every single person working in technology, despite their background, has always been important. However, that was not the initial what I was trying to do. Being an engineer, I was trying to solve a problem. How do I stay connected with the rest of the community where I can, feel connected and find the belonging? So doing PWiC, and then I got exposed to so much more. It's not just about one aspect of diversity. It's not just about gender. It's not just about ethnicity. There's so many different aspects to diversity and inclusion that we need to talk about, especially if we are, on this path to creating a new world that is so deeply rooted in digitalization and digital transformation and innovation. So I'm part of several initiatives at work, and my exposure to working with other women in tech communities, as well as other underrepresented or marginalized communities in tech. One thing that I realized that I can really pay back, or I can probably educate a little more on inclusivity. Most of the time when I talk to especially people from Pakistan, there's any conversation around diversity or inclusion, we just take a gender lens on this. And hopefully after today's conversation, we will try to broaden that lens and see how it impacts everything that we do, in the process of innovation. So I'm personally very much learning about this. I'm not an expert on this. This is purely, what I'm learning, and I would like all of you to know about, what inclusive innovation is and how can we together build a future that belongs to all of us. So let's get started. I do want to start with when we met last time in 2020. Arzish was here, and we have this ongoing partnership with Ejad Labs. It started in 2019, and from the very early days, Arzish and I, we had a shared passion for communities. We had a shared passion for connecting people, and that's how we got connected, and that's how everything is going. So we met here in 2020. We did all our amazing talks, and we were looking forward to the next next session, and nobody knew what will come next. So in February 2020, this is where we left 2020. And I had a very busy month that, right, I had 3 international travels already planned. Right after this Tech Summit in 2020, I had something that I went to Vancouver, Canada, and I was also very excited to give another talk in Austria. So I had my, the whole travel plan in place. And this was right about the time when borders in Europe started to shut down. So, but one thing that people know about me, I'm very persistent. Unless I have a reason to stop, I just keep going. So I drove from Pullman to Seattle, 6 hours to get my flight to Vienna. And I boarded the flight. I was there. And then, we all use social media. So out of, excitement, I posted something on Facebook that, I'm on my way to Austria for this amazing conference. And it was Sunday evening. And I got a phone call from one of my colleagues that I work with. And he's, it was a very unusual time for somebody from work to call me on Sunday evening when I was about to fly. So I picked up the phone and I was like, "What's up, Keith? I'm about to fly." And he said, "You need to get off the plane right now." And I said, "What happened?" And he said, "You being a brown person, immigrant, first generation immigrant, President Trump has just announced that borders are going to start shutting down because of COVID, and they may not allow anyone from Europe. So you need to cancel this trip, get off the plane, and go home. There is no need for you to go and give any talk anywhere." I'm glad I listened. I got off the plane. I think I was the first one who got off the plane, and then I was very disappointed because I love to travel. But I went home, and the 6 hours going back, I was constantly thinking, what can I do? Like how am I going to survive COVID if there is no travel and there's no community work that I'm doing? And we have all been through that. And then we saw the Great Pause. We saw cities, big cities, full of life. We all saw shutting down. Washington State being the first state, where COVID was detected in 2020, Seattle, we were, in a complete lockdown, and there was a complete isolation. The funny thing is that I make joke about this, that it was not new for me, that being isolated wasn't new for me. So I actually used my experience of living in a small, American town and then connecting everybody through digital means. I actually used that as an opportunity. Okay, how can I now help others who are either working from home, because I was also working remote for almost 3 years by then. So I thought, why not use this opportunity, how we can make a difference. So some people took that as an opportunity to reflect and where they can basically contribute and create an impact. So what really kept us going through all of that, while we were waiting for a COVID vaccine to appear, there was hope that we will have a vaccine. As human, we are resilient. So we went through that phase. And the third thing that really kept us going was the collaboration technology. We saw people, meeting their families, getting married. having their doctor's appointment, all digital learning, working from home, all of that was possible because there was a collaboration technology, and somebody was probably thinking not about COVID, but somebody was innovating all of this, maybe for a different use case. But innovation in technology at that point became so much important for our survival. Like, just like we use Google for search, Zoom is now used for, meeting somebody. Let's get on a Zoom call. So that's how well connected we were, and we survived all of this. So in the past 2 years, I, just like Gulirana mentioned, I also work, for a company that is one of the pioneers in collaboration technology, and I'm currently working in learning, digital learning and ed tech. So I think that was probably the first time I really realized that my work, how much it matters globally, and how much it's going to matter for upskilling and reskilling and helping people go through this digital transformation that we have seen in the past 2 years. We have already gone to, that we have already covered the gap of 10 years of innovation and digital transformation. Today, it's not just about putting a front face of products and services and platform in front of customers. It's about everything that goes behind, everything in operations and in support, in financial. All those processes and all those systems are needed to be automated too, because the companies couldn't keep up with the number of orders and the interaction that was happening through the point of sale or the front end. So there was a lot of cloud related transformation that was happening. Processes were getting automated. It was not just about product anymore. It was about end-to-end customer experience. What exactly the overall experience that you sell to your customers. And we are even so close to, things like metaverse and blockchain. Like, we are very close to, they're not too far in the future. We may be able to see them in the next couple of years becoming mainstream. You have already seen Facebook changing its name to Meta is kind of an indication of that. So we are already making huge leaps in digital transformation as well as in innovation. And this was, one of the reports that I was looking at, that we have already covered the, globally, maybe 10 years, 7 years, depending upon which part of the global region you are. This is what the trend looks like, and it's not going to slow down. It's actually it has just shown everybody what was possible through technology, and this momentum is continuing to go on. And if everyone working in tech is feeling burned out, that's pretty real, because a lot of digital transformation is happening. Okay, so all of this very exciting. Being people that we are in tech, we really get we are really driven by problem solving and finding solution and building the next latest technology. But there can be a blind spot for doing all of this in the pace and the momentum that we are doing it. And that's where I think we can be a little more intentional about the choices that we make. And I have identified, I couldn't find anything that really talks about inclusive innovation in the context of, there's not much available if you're just looking for that. But there is different ways we can look at that innovation. And I have split, what are the different areas that we can really look at. It's the investment part. And Atif has really talked about how an investment is coming in from global VC companies to Pakistan. So Pakistan is actually one of the examples that we can take as inclusive investment, in that we have been underrepresented at the global technology stage. So now we are starting there. And a lot of a lot of global VC companies, even other investors are finding Pakistan to be that emerging market where they're bringing all this capital. Now, we can also look at further like how that investment drills down into or trickle down to all the different areas. We have seen that it's already pretty well distributed when it comes to Pakistan. We can be a little more intentional about where this investment goes. What we can look at the what problem that we are solving, what kind of founders background that we are and what kind of opportunities we are providing to all the founders and all these ideas for nurturing and growth. So we are not getting stuck at just similar sounding and similar type ideas for investment. Then it's also about digital inclusion, and we have seen that Pakistan is doing really, really good in that space. However, when it comes to digital inclusion, we have also seen that as COVID showed us that you can actually connect through collaboration technology, but it also showed us that some of our basic things like health and education and communication, all of that became so dependent on having access to internet, having access to technology, having access to that infrastructure, that in absence of that infrastructure, even your mainstream population can be really left out and stay behind, if you're not conscious or intentional about building that kind of infrastructure, not just in Pakistan, but globally. I'm from product management, and I know a lot of people here in this audience are also from product. So doing research, including your users early in the research, understanding the personas, understanding the products that you're building, who are you building it for. It doesn't have to be an engineer, just really passionate about an idea and just going and implementing that. It can be more inclusive by including the people that we are building it for, and then looking at more, holistically, that how it's going to impact. And the last one, I'm really passionate about the hiring. I know there is a talent war going on right now, and I'll talk more about that and how PWiC has helped in that space. But inclusive hiring is also one of the things that we haven't seen. Like, the talent shortage is not just Pakistan specific thing. With the digital transformation and all the other technological expansion that happened in the last 2 years, all the tech companies are looking for talent. And now, as the boundaries of global borders they don't matter much, so we are in this war with really big players as well. So who comes out survive this competition, it's also very interesting. So I pulled some number together. I've already talked about some of these, but if you really look at the investment side of things, there is a 2% solution. One of the examples, like how you can include underrepresented or marginalized communities. One of the projects here in the US is all the big companies are encouraged to invest 2% of their profit for the next 10 years in underrepresented, spaces, or investing not just in products and startups, but also industry innovation and infrastructure related initiatives. The other one, just like I talked about, the digital inclusion. So we may assume that, that living in the US, everybody has access to or equal access to internet and technology. That wasn't true. 42 million Americans right now lack access to wireless broadband. And as all the learning part went, like school got shut down, all the learning part went online. And me being mother of 2 young children under the age of 10, and one of my son, he actually needs extra help in speech therapy and occupational therapy. I have lived this experience. Just getting on a Zoom call was not the solution. We need more products and more services and more intentional innovation in the areas where we can include a bigger pool of learners. And the third one I've talked about before. While you're building product, diverse team, including people with variety of background, thought process, education, experience, I would just put gender, in one of the lists, one of the items in a very long list of what makes diversity, what makes inclusivity. We should be looking at all of that from while we are building our products. And about hiring. Hiring it's a challenge right now for everybody, and especially I think we may be limiting ourselves if we're looking for only specific profile 10x engineers from specific universities having specific background in computer science and all of that experience. If we really want to build a talent pipeline, we may need to expand that. What makes a good engineer, who should be building technology, and we can also invest in building the talent that we wish to hire. I'm a very strong believer of that. I see a lot of posts, we are looking for this extraordinary candidate in the market. You can be more proactive about that. You can look at anyone hiring. You can look at people from that lens. Like, this may be my potential person that I would like, to work for my company. So instead of doing job posting and waiting for some people to apply to those jobs, as hiring managers, as recruiters, we can be a little more, proactive about reaching out and finding the people who make a good cultural add and not just cultural fit. And also, APM program of Google is such an example of building the talent that you wish to hire. So when Google started with their product manager program, they really wanted people with technology background, having a really good understanding of product, but there were not enough people in the industry who could do the job the way Google wanted it. So they created some of these apprenticeship and programs where they will intake these people from the industry, and they will train them, and they will make them that A team that everybody wished to hire. So there are many different ways you can tackle this hiring. So, all right. So when I was coming back from Seattle back to Pullman, that's when the idea of having a virtual career fair clicked. I wanted to do that for a very long time, but there was not enough reason to do that at that point. But when COVID started, PWiC took a leadership role here. We created a full end-to-end digital experience for hiring. We invited companies from the US, many Pakistani startups, and startups backed by AWS from Singapore. They joined us, and we enabled people from all over Pakistan to apply for those jobs. And that's where we made the border really insignificant in that conversation. Not only we connected the recruiters with the hiring, with the candidates, but we also, for 2 weeks, we trained, we mentored, we helped, and all of those candidates, their chances of success and their chances of getting job are high. Sometimes people just don't know what to do. It's not that they are not talented. It's not that they don't have the knowledge or not have the drive or the will. They just don't know how to navigate, the whole hiring process. And that's where PWiC played a very significant role. So close to 14,000 candidates, both in US and Pakistan, benefited. And out of, this happened in 2020, and in 2021, I recently got somebody hired in my team. Actually, 4 people got hired within the company, but 2 of them, they were working mothers who left the industry 10 years ago, and after having exposure to get hired, they decided to go back, and now they are those employees that you would wish to hire. So there's sometime you just need to put a little bit of effort into bringing people to that point where they really start. I'll quickly skip through. I'll actually just, take just one last minute. So I'm very passionate about EdTech. So I did commission a private, research on EdTech ecosystem in Pakistan. And it's available online for anyone who would like to go and take a look. And what they've done, what Demo did they just did an exploratory study on edtech, all the different segments that were being covered in Pakistan, what they are covering. So this is where, the product inclusion and the infrastructure inclusion and also the investment inclusion part can come in. If you really look at the early childhood learning, where I'm really passionate about, my children are in that age group, it's really hard to find any solutions that are available. So we can be a little more research oriented and look at the market and look at where the gaps are and then build, products based on that. So with that, I will stop. I think this audience here, with all the investors and startup and technology makers and community builders, we can actually lead the way, be more intentional in building that future that belongs to all of us. Thank you so much.